Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. I don't know where you are, who you are, what time it is, wherever you're listening to this, but I hope you're having a good day. It's Richard here, back with another episode of my self named podcast, the Richard Dixon Podcast, which I've been promising guests for a long time for. If you're sticking around for guests, honestly, I'm probably just going to keep telling you that they're coming and they might never come. I just love having this opportunity to sit down and speak on my own. I don't get this opportunity very often to speak to so many people, but also nobody at the same time, which is pretty nice. I'm going to talk about something controversial today, which I've not been shy on doing before in the past. I'm definitely less of a controversial person now, I think. But let's just talk about Trump and what that might mean for entrepreneurship and the UK. And if we could see the UK follow suit. I'm going to start this by saying I think the UK is in the worst state in history, to my knowledge, for entrepreneurship at the moment. I'm going to let you know some of my plans for the future. That can be done immediately, but certainly are motivating me to leave the UK, and the potential ripple effect from the American politics it might help us. But first, I'm going to take a drink of water. So if you hear me not saying anything for the next 3 seconds, that's why. So 2 weeks ago or something, less actually, Donald Trump became president-elect of the United States of America. I'll lay my cards on the table just now that is the result that I wanted. I'm not an American. I'm not going to say I'm the most politically informed person when it comes to US politics, but when it came to the policies that I care about, which really isn't everything, it's a few specific things. When it comes to my faith, Donald Trump definitely ticked more boxes for me. To my understanding, I think he had a pretty successful first campaign. I understand he didn't win the second time around, which some people think is election fraud and other people think is just Joe Biden winning. But it's a result that I was certainly not unhappy with, and I hope will have a positive ripple effect into the United Kingdom. Now, for my American-based friends, I might get some stuff wrong here. Like I said, I'm not a political commentator, but from what I can see and what I understand about Donald Trump, having been an entrepreneur, regardless of your other personal opinions on him, just speaking totally from a entrepreneur standpoint, because I lean with the into the same school of thought as Alex Hormozi, which is vote for the person who is going to make your goals easier to achieve. And depending on your personal goals, that will be a different person. So if I was an entrepreneur in America, I would be pretty happy at Trump winning, regardless of other policies, just purely stripping it down to my entrepreneurship. I would be pretty happy. I think he is a successful entrepreneur. I think an appointment of Elon Musk and stuff like that can only have benefits. Now, some people will probably take this out of hand and be like, Richard is a massive Trump supporter, massive Elon supporter, is advocating for every single thing they've ever done or said. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you're an entrepreneur in America, and America is under the control of a very successful entrepreneur with an advisor who is the most successful entrepreneur on the planet and potentially one of the greatest minds to have ever lived, there's going to be some benefits, right? I think loads of people are picking up the tariff thing out of context and thinking that tariffs immediately make goods more expensive in America and that it's the public that are going to have to carry the cost of the tariff. I think the whole point of the tariff is not that the overseas businesses will pay them, it's that they would move manufacturing to the United States and create jobs, and not pay the tariffs for importing foreign goods. I think that is the logic. Whether it plays out like that, I don't have a clue. But I think that's what makes sense to me on the tariff side of things. I don't think the tariffs are that all these big multinationals, take Toyota, who don't have manufacturing in the United States and sell loads of cars there, would maybe open a big manufacturing plant in Detroit or whatever, because Detroit's called Motor City, I think is where they build all the cars. I don't know, but I think this is an entirely positive next 4 years, hopefully, for American business owners, entrepreneurship. I think it can be really positive. We've seen some crazy happenings over the last couple of weeks. Bitcoin, like, approaching $100,000 for the first time ever. For clarity, I hold zero crypto. I have bought bits and pieces and sold bits and pieces of crypto over the past few years. My opinion is, I do think crypto is like a fad. I think it's going to be useless. Is there money to be made in it? For sure. Is it definitely the future? I think so. Do I think any of the popular cryptocurrencies just now have any real world mass utility? and will end up being commonly adopted by a reasonable amount of the planet? Absolutely not. So for me, the energy and time and focus that would go into researching crypto coins is not worth it for me. I don't care. I'm not going to put enough money into it to ever be life-changing, so I focus on other stuff. That's my opinion. I'm not looking to debate crypto. That's just my stance. I'm not militant about it. I really don't care, but it's positive market movements nonetheless. And I don't think we would have seen that if it was Kamala that had won the election. Now, bringing it back to the UK, because most of my viewers are in the UK. I'm in the UK. I'm in Scotland. For those of you who don't know, I'm in Glasgow. What could this potentially mean for Scotland and for the UK? Now, let's first of all think of the state of play for entrepreneurship and, business owners and operators inside the United Kingdom. People always go to, especially like super left, super liberal people. I am left-leaning on many policies, especially social policy. I am right-leaning on quite a lot of fiscal policies. So I don't identify as being on either side of that. I haven't voted in a few years. I spoil my vote. I'm not like into party politics or whatever, right? I don't feel represented by anyone, if I'm being totally honest. But the UK just now, the people who push forward parties that are clearly on anti-entrepreneurship, which is basically everybody, and I hate to say minus the Conservatives because it makes it sound like I'm advocating for them, which I'm really not. So many people think that these changes for businesses is like entirely positive because, if you're a business owner, you must be this big, massive, successful person with all these assets that should be taxed and stuff like that. I mean, let's look at Norway just now. Norway introduced an unrealised capital gains tax thing, right? That was taxing based on like values of businesses as opposed to profit. And 400 of the largest taxpayers in Norway, something like this, don't quote me on that, or maybe it's like half of the first 400 or whatever, have moved all of their businesses to Switzerland, open doors from Switzerland, very open country when it comes to finance and banking and stuff like that. And Norway's Socialist Party, I think they're called, instead of realising, oh my goodness, we've made a mistake, why are we charging unprofitable unicorns? If you don't know what a unicorn is, it's just like basically a really high potential startup that ticks loads of boxes and has raised a lot of money. There was someone there with a startup, I think it was actually a crypto based one, funnily enough, to go absolutely against the point I was making, and it was worth a couple of $1 billion. And they were trying to hit them with a massive capital gains tax bill for unrealised capital gains when they are not profitable. The valuation is based on the money that they've raised, right? If I give away 10% of my business for $1 billion, I've got a company now valued at 10 billion. Does that mean I have 10 billion in the bank? No. Does that mean I've ever made a cent of profit? No, right? But Norway are trying to tax these people for it. And instead of realising, oh my goodness, we've made a mistake, let's change this to encourage our largest taxpayers to stay inside of our economy, continue contributing, so we'll swap some stuff about. What they done was they created a wall of shame inside of their party's head office, which is basically newspaper clippings of those successful entrepreneurs. They put them on a wall saying, this person left Norway to pay less tax. Of course they did, you idiot. Of course they left. They've got no profit. They never made any profit. They are burning money to try and build something really big, and then you make it profitable through a change in structure. You're expecting them, what, they meant to raise more money to pay your tax bill, which would then, by proxy, increase their valuation and decrease the investability of the project. You're raising money to pay off a tax bill. But no, instead of changing that to encourage them to stay inside of the country and when they become profitable, contribute to the Norwegian tax system, let's just put them on a wall of shame and watch them go to Switzerland and contribute to their economy instead. How stupid is that? Now, the UK is a really bad place for entrepreneurs just now. Let me go as far as to say the UK is a really bad place for humanity at the moment, in my opinion. I'm not going to digress too much and go into too many nuances, but there's a lot that could be said fiscally. There's a lot that could be said socially, healthcare service, immigration. There's a lot of stuff there. I think the quality of life in the UK is rapidly decreasing for average people. Now, I am a lot more average than my peers would give me credit for. I don't live in a huge house. I live in a very nice area, right? I'm really fortunate. The area I live in's really, really nice. My house is beautiful and stuff like that. But I don't live in like a £4 or £5 million house and it's like that massive estate or something like that. I definitely have above average income. Of course I do. My business is above average size for Scotland, but I don't. Yeah, I've had some ridiculous cars, but like, what does that really mean in the pardon me, grand scheme of things? It kind of doesn't mean anything. So I am way more average than people realise, and whether you like it or not, I am often advocating and stuff like this for average people and talking about the effects of average people, or the effects on average people. And I think just now, for the common person in the UK, it's not as good to live in. Cost of living is horrific. And we can pass the buck between political parties on that. It doesn't matter who is to blame. What matters is that it's where we are. There's just a lot of stuff that isn't really great about the UK. Crime and all that kind of stuff. I mean, don't get me started on this woman that was just like arrested and put in prison for like a tweet or something like that. And by the way, for those of you that are like, oh, free speech, the UK doesn't have protected free speech. So, like, you can say that's stupid that a woman's been arrested if it is against the law, and the law is stupid potentially. It is what it is, you know. You need to, if it's illegal, it's illegal, right? So, I am hoping that for entrepreneurs, let me make this clear, a figure or a team similar to what is being assembled in the United States would hopefully be assembled in the UK. I do not know who would spearhead that. I've always had this weird desire that Peter Jones from Dragon's Den would become the Prime Minister of the UK, which I would still totally love, I think. But having a team like that, I don't think there's any politicians there that match up to what we're seeing in the United States just now for entrepreneurs. There's no party that represents entrepreneurs. I feel like entrepreneurship is vilified. I have zero respect left whatsoever for the SNP, zero respect left for Scottish Greens, for Scottish Labour, Scottish Conservatives. Like, there is not a party I would give time to, you know. Like, there's just not. I actually get invited to a thing, and I cannot for the life of me remember what party it is, so I'm not going to say a party name because it could be wrong and that could be defamatory. But I get invited to like a dinner thing a while back, and I said to them that I would love to speak to them about the policies for entrepreneurs and some things that I think they could do better. Not because I am an oracle of wisdom, but maybe it would be nice for them to hear it. And on that basis, they didn't want me there anymore. So, as an entrepreneur in the UK, just now we're paying the highest taxes we ever have. And the buck is being passed. Oh, you're having to do this because the Conservatives were in power before, and then the people who are pro-Conservative will say it's Labour introducing this now and all that kind of stuff. And look, I understand how a budget works in terms of a nation's budget. Like, people will be quick to say, oh, we send billions to Ukraine, can we not just swap that to the NHS? Like, it's not just one big fluid pot of money that just gets divided as and when. It's like pre-agreed and monies are set aside for certain things. Do I think there needs to be a reshuffling and a restructure of that? Yeah, I absolutely do. I think there's enough issues in the UK that potentially we have to rethink how much foreign aid we give and foreign support. I certainly don't think we should stop foreign aid and foreign support. I just think we should have a better grasp on how much we actually spend. I don't know what goes into that. It could be a really massive job, but it's also a really massive amount of money, so it's probably worth it. Just now, if you're wanting to start a business in the UK, it's never been less profitable immediately. Capital gains is up. The cost of employing staff is up drastically. For me, it'll be tens of thousands of pounds. It's not going to be like 100k a year, but it'll be like tens of thousands of pounds to not expand my business in any way and just continue as we are. So, if we do the exact same, we don't hire any more staff, we do the exact same revenue next year as we have this year, it will cost me like 50, 60k more to operate. And understand that, businesses have a total revenue figure, but we also have a thing called profit, and that big number doesn't get blended into the turnover and the revenue. It gets blended into your profit. So that is what has less left at the end of the year. So you are literally paying for it. You're not carrying the expense. At the end of the day, it will encourage many businesses to increase the prices and my foot was caught in something there. To increase the prices and stuff, which has a wee trickle down effect as well. Now I think businesses should increase the prices, but loads of people have a mental detachment from it. They're scared they're going to lose clients and stuff, so they will, by proxy, just end up snookering themselves and not changing anything at all. If I was someone just now that was in a developing country and wanting to go somewhere to start a business and you had free rein to pick somewhere, don't come to the UK. Honestly, don't come to the UK. I'm so proudly Scottish, it's unbelievable. I love being from Scotland. I talk a lot about how proud I'm being from Scotland, but in terms of my dreams and my desires, by the way, I also have no problem paying tax. I'm going to make that clear. I have no problem paying tax and contributing to the, Scottish, what word am I trying to use here? Scottish economy, I've got no issue doing that. We provide people with jobs here. We do stuff that's economically positive. But that being said, I feel like I'm vilified, not on a personal basis as an entrepreneur, not Richard Dixon, just as a business owner. I feel like I'm vilified by all the parties that could represent us here in Scotland. We're taxed on everything. We're taxed on the same money multiple times. You're paying tax to buy things, you're paying tax to sell things, you're paying tax on the money to give yourself to pay the tax to buy the things. So, £1 from, your business out through to something else is, being taxed 4, 5, 6 times in that chain of transactions. So no wonder we have massive quantitative easing in the UK, and we're experiencing pretty bad inflation and stuff like that. It's a real big issue, it's a really big issue. If you're an entrepreneur and you want to go to a developing country, America's probably your best bet. It's probably a better bet than the UK, even if the UK was good, right? But the UK as an environment for someone to come into is not all it's cracked up to be anymore. And I'm at a point in my life now where I am happy to consider and actively pursuing leaving Scotland. And that would include taking the majority of my business. I would still keep an office here and keep staff here and UK entity and all that kind of stuff. But I'm likely going to end up in Spain, or I will end up, maybe I would go to America at some point. I'm not sure. Spain is a good middle ground because it's not too far away. It's not tax free. It's not a tax haven. I could try to go to Dubai, the fakest, crappiest place in the world. By the way, Dubai's beautiful and amazing. I love going there, but I would hate to live there. It's just so fake. It's unbelievable. So I'm not choosing this on the basis of where can I get the lowest rate tax. I'm going to go with St. Bart's or St. Kitts or Jersey, Guernsey, Isle of Man, Monaco, Switzerland, one of these places. I'm based on somewhere I would like to live and be close to my family. Still 3 hours away. Spain, right? It's not a 0% tax. It's still pretty reasonable taxes, but I think it's, cost of living's better. My income would remain the same, so I would get more for the money, like living there in terms of the house I could have, and my quality of life would be higher, better weather, all that kind of stuff. And I also wouldn't feel like the government is designing a system to have people like me fail. You might be thinking, oh yeah, Richard, there's boo-hoo for you. You've got a business that's doing pretty well. Oh, that's so sad. I don't need sympathy. I'm going to grow regardless. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm painting what I believe to be an accurate picture of what the state of play is in the UK just now. And I think entrepreneurship is vilified. All the costs are getting higher. Entrepreneurship is not championed in the UK. They want to make entrepreneurship harder. They treat business owners as just one big broad category. So the little guy gets treated just as badly as the big guy. And the big guys have the money available to be more strategic and be more tactical with how they play things. And the little guy doesn't have that. So many businesses fail in the UK, and it's sad to see. It upsets me sometimes when I see that happen to people and there's no access to resources. I mean, from education up, entrepreneurship's not championed in the UK. Business degrees are useless, in my opinion, right? Now, there will be people that will beat that statement, right? But in my experience, in my own experience, I haven't met a super successful entrepreneur that I know personally who has a business degree. Yet to meet one. My business partner's degree's in construction management. Like, what's that got to do? Or IT or something like that. What's that got to do with business, right? One of my mates, Stephen, one of the most successful entrepreneurs I know, deca-millionaire, going to sell the rest of his business for deca-millions again, right? One of the most successful guys I know. I'm not... Stephen, if you're watching this, which you're probably not, I don't even know that he went to college. I think Stephen just left school and started working. Like, no business degree. None of my mates who are successful entrepreneurs have business degrees. There will be some out there, but it's certainly not a requirement. The quality of business education in school is abhorrent. It's teaching you how to operate someone else's business, not how to be an entrepreneur, not how to start a business. People don't even know how to apply for business bank accounts or register a limited company. It's absolute madness, right? Entrepreneurs and, development and encouraging, what's it called? Development is not the word I'm trying to use. Innovation, encouraging innovation, stuff like that, is the backbone of any growing economy. And when that is vilified, it removes a key aspect of the economy's growth. And by the way, not to get down another rabbit hole, because life is objectively harder now, I would say, one, it's easier to start a business now because of the ease of access of information, but it's objectively more difficult, for the average person to get home, for the average person to, invest and put towards the pension and all that kind of stuff, which also puts pressure on young people when it comes to making a decision to become parents. That's why for the first time in a very long time, Europe as a whole is not maintaining the average of, I think it's 1.6 births per woman to keep the size of population, right? Not to continue growing, just to maintain, right? So we've got way more financial stress and burden that's being carried by fewer people and is going to, based on our decisions to have or not have children, is going to have a smaller amount of people going forward in the world unless something changes soon, which you could argue means the dispersion of wealth is better, but it's not, because dispersion of wealth averagely and objectively is really bad. What it means is that there's going to be a smaller amount of people still carrying a massive, likely increasing level of liability. I mean, it's not 1.6, is it 1.56 births per woman? I can't remember, right? But it's around that. It's certainly not 2, and it's not 1, right? It's like just above 1.5, I'm sure. And Spain just now is averaging like 1.12. That's the lowest in Europe. That's critically low. If you look at it as like a heat map, it's like burning red. The UK is falling way behind as well. And I think for some people don't like the idea of parenthood, which is another video I could do. I think the greatest, most amazing thing you could do is become a parent. I think anybody who's not a parent in their 50s and 60s is going to end up upset. You might think you're super cool and super trendy and you don't want kids now and stuff like that. You're going to regret it one day. That's my opinion. I'm desperate to have kids. I don't even have a wife, right? But I am desperate to have kids. If I could click my fingers right now and I'm 20 years old and had 5 kids, I would be so happy, right? I'm going to try and fix that birth deficit in the UK, right? I would love to have like 10 kids. It wouldn't bother me. It would make me happy. So all of this stuff, I know I'm going down rabbit holes, right? But all of this stuff is a problem, You vilify entrepreneurship, you overtax employees. I'm talking for entrepreneurs here, but for employees, it's not great either. You vilify entrepreneurship, you overtax employees, you increase the prices of everything, inflation is out of control, everything is objectively harder, minus the access to information because we have the internet, but the rest of the stuff is more difficult. People financially can't make the commitments that they made before, so less people are having kids. I would make an argument that more people are having kids in low-income areas and relying on government-based support, which many people need, but it shouldn't be relied upon, especially if you are capable of working but you're choosing not to, which is not everyone. So the weight and liability and pressure on the average working person or the average entrepreneur to make up for this stuff is going to get bigger and bigger and worse, and nobody's listening to them. Nobody's listening to them. Two-tier Keir, who's a complete helmet, by the way. And if it's illegal, me calling Keir Starmer a helmet, so be it. Whatever, right? Apologies, you'll see me in the dock at some point. But I think he's a horrific example of an entrepreneur. An politician, leader. Didn't mean to say entrepreneur. I don't know if he's ever been an entrepreneur. But I think he's a horrific He wasn't even desired by the Labour Party a few years ago. Do you mean he could hardly win a constituency? Now he's Prime Minister of the UK. Politics is the only job you can fail up the way. Same in the UK. Humza Yousaf failed up the way. But by the way, like, I know people who are friends with Humza Yousaf. I'm not saying anything derogatory about him. I don't know the guy. Do I think he was a great politician? No. I think he was really poor. And there's politicians I've met, like even people like Anas Sarwar, Patrick Harvey. I don't think there's anyone that I look and go, that's an amazing leader, that's someone to be amazing at this stuff. I don't think, I've never been in politics, I don't know how hard that is, but I don't think any of them are particularly good at their jobs, right? There's some stuff that seems glaringly obvious to me, and I'm sure there must be things I'm not privy to that stop things happening, right? But I don't look at anybody and go, you're amazing at your job. I don't, right? Especially not Keir Starmer. And it goes back to the point I made that politics is the only job in the world where you can fail up the way. You know, you're a failed local councillor and you become an MP. You're a failed MP, you become a leader of a party. You're a failed leader of a party and you become a Prime Minister. Wow, what a country to live in where democracy is truly alive and well. I think it's getting to a point where I feel like we're in failed communism now. We're not, but that's what it feels like in some ways. So me personally, I'm going to plan to pack my bags and get out of the UK. It's not somewhere I want to raise a family, I don't think. Crime is pretty bad, quality of life is bad, tax is up. Everything just kind of sucks here. And it takes me back to my central point of this video. I hope that when it comes to entrepreneurship and I'm not talking about tax benefits and advantages, but just a better system that might be introduced over the water in the United States may ripple here and rub off slightly on the UK government, and it could keep, I'm going to say people like me, but people who are much bigger businesses than me contribute much more to the economy. It would hopefully keep them around and allow us to develop a healthier Scotland, a healthier Britain, be able to invest more in the NHS and, maybe even have more money to help with more foreign aid. I just don't think is the thing that we should be thinking about just now. Now, I know so many people take so many things I've said in this video out of pocket. That's cool. Don't really care. You would probably be best watching the full thing, but you probably won't be. You might be seeing a clip somewhere or whatever. That's cool too. I don't think I've said anything here that is radical or terrible. I think I'm saying I don't even think I'm saying things that people aren't willing to say. I hear many people talk about this stuff. I've not said anything that's controversial at all. I'll just summarise it with, sadly, the United Kingdom is not the place for entrepreneurs anymore. Should that stop you opening a business? No. You don't have to move country to start a business. Start a business and go for it. It's just a shame, the state of play just now. If you agree, I would love to hear your opinion in any comments, or if you're listening to this on YouTube or whatever, you can leave a comment. That would be cool. Be interested in your opinion. If you drastically disagree and you think I've got something wrong, and maybe factually I have got something wrong, that would be cool to know as well. Always like to be informed, even if it means that I was wrong. It doesn't bother me at all. So this can create healthy discourse and healthy discussion. But I have a feeling most people can agree, if I'm being honest. So thank you for listening. Maybe if you echo these points, you might want to subscribe, follow along for the journey, leave a thumbs up or something like that. That would be cool as well. Big shout out to all the entrepreneurs out there. Guys, it's not hard doing what we do. We produce so much for the economy. We take massive amounts of risk starting their enterprises, massive amounts of stress, many people's large amounts of debt and whatnot to start their businesses. And I don't feel like we even get an average level of respect from the people that govern us, which is pretty sad. But keep pushing, keep cracking on, keep growing the enterprise, and maybe one day you will also desire to leave the country as well. So thank you for listening, and I'll catch up with you all very, very soon. Peace.